Right then, Celtic fans, the countdown is officially on. We're just hours away from another massive European night under the lights at Celtic Park, and the atmosphere is already building. Tomorrow, the boys are back in UEFA Champions League action, and all eyes are now on the visitors from Kazakhstan, Kairat Almaty. Now look, every time a European clash approaches, there's this buzz of excitement, but also that underlying curiosity, right? Who are these guys? What are they about? Are they any good? Should we be worried? And as we always do the day before the match, we start digging in. We go beyond the usual surface stuff. We want to know their strengths, their weaknesses, their danger, man, how they set up tactically, all of that. And what we've found so far is, well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Kairat are no mugs. They're the reigning champions of the Kazakhstan Premier League. And no matter what league you're in, being champions means you know how to grind out results. That said, they're not exactly pulling up trees in terms of their European performances, and from what we've seen of their most recent outings, especially against Slovan Bratislava, there's definitely reason for Celtic fans to feel optimistic. Now, just to throw in a bit of color here, and I promise this is real, apparently some of the Kairat squad was spotted in a local sauna in Glasgow. That's right. One of our own bumped into a few of their players while relaxing at a spa in town. And let's just say the Kazakh lads were making the most of the facilities. Whether that's part of their official recovery routine or just a bit of jet lag catching up with them, who knows? But hey, that's probably as much scouting as some people will need. Still, we're not underestimating them. Not by a long shot. Let's talk football now. Kairat have made it through several qualifying rounds already, which tells you two things. First, they've got match fitness and momentum. Second, they've got a bit of resilience about them. They didn't have it easy against Bratislava, had to go all the way to penalties, but they came through. That says something, but when you break down the goals they conceded, particularly in that last round, you start to see some cracks. Defensively, they look vulnerable when pressed, especially in transition. Their backline is experienced, yes, but aging, we're talking center backs pushing 37 years old. That's not just a number. That's a red flag when you've got guys like Dyson Maeda or Lila Bada running at you full speed. And speaking of players, Jamie Vardy, a name nobody expected to hear linked with Celtic in this transfer window. But here we are. Reports down south are now claiming the former Leicester City and England striker has his heart set on reuniting with Brendan Rodgers at Parkhead. 38 years old or not, Jamie Vardy is still a proven finisher. Let's not forget, 9 goals and 4 assists in the Premier League last season, even while Leicester was spiraling. That's not a guy who's washed. That's a guy who still knows where the goal is. But here's the thing. Should we really be depending on a player of that age as our marquee attacking signing? That's the million-pound question. On one hand, Vardy brings experience, quality, and a ruthless streak in front of goal. On the other, it raises eyebrows about the club's recruitment strategy. Why are we scrambling in the final weeks of the window, chasing free agents when we had all summer to scout and secure talent? This isn't about Vardy the player. It's about Celtic the club and whether their ambition is there to back the manager and build something sustainable. Vardy could absolutely do a job for us, no doubt. But if that's plan A in August, then questions need to be asked. Let's not kid ourselves either. The Celtic support will be split on this. Some will love the idea of a Premier League icon leading the line in Europe. Others will see it as a panic move, a short-term fix that doesn't align with long-term goals. If we brought in Vardy alongside a younger striker and perhaps a new winger, then yeah, fans will be buzzing. But if he's the striker signing, then it starts to feel like we're improvising, not building. The same conversation happened last year with Aaron Mooy. Remember that. People questioned his fitness, his background, his recent form, and he turned out to be one of our most important players until injury struck. So experience isn't always a bad thing. But again, it all comes down to context. Are we being proactive or reactive? Meanwhile, there's also been some movement in terms of former Celtic youth. Ben Doak, or Ben Gannon Doak now, reflecting, both sides of his family has just sealed a big money move to Bournemouth. £20 million from Liverpool, with Celtic reportedly set to pocket at least £1 million from the sell-on clause. Fair play to the lad. From what we saw when he first broke through, you could tell he was special. That cameo against Dundee United at 16, the raw pace, the confidence, it was all there. Shame we couldn't keep hold of him, but that's modern football for you. Now back to the actual match. Tomorrow night, under the lights, Celtic Park. This is where the journey starts for real. Kairat will not have faced an atmosphere like this. They've been playing in front of 10, maybe 15,000 fans back home. This is a full house in Glasgow against a side that moves the ball faster than anything they've dealt with so far. The kickoff is midnight in Kazakhstan. Their bodies are going to feel that. The travel, the time zone shift, the climate, the crowd, all of it favors Celtic. But that doesn't mean we can sleepwalk through this. That kind of complacency has cost us before. What we need is intensity from minute one. Just like we saw against Falkirk. Relentless pressure, pinning them in, forcing mistakes. Set the tone early. Get them rattled. Make them feel like they're drowning from the first whistle. Because if we give them any kind of foothold, they'll take it. They've shown they can grind. They've shown they can dig deep. And they'll be looking to keep things tight and frustrate us. Maybe nick a goal and take it back to Kazakhstan with something to defend. We can't let that happen. The first leg has to be decisive. Not just a win, a statement. 3 goals minimum. That's what takes the pressure off the return fixture. That's what lets us rotate and manage energy later. And with away goals no longer a factor, there's no excuse for being cagey. Go for the jugular. Kill the tie. And to do that, Brendan Rodgers has decisions to make. Will we see Rayo Hatade back in the starting 11? Will Gustav Lagerbielke partner Carter Vickers again? Or will there be a change at center back? Does James Forrest keep his place? Or is it time for Young to get a start? Up top, does O start again, or does someone else lead the line? These are big calls, and they'll define the flow of the game. One thing is for sure, Kairat will try to sit deep, soak up pressure, and play on the counter. Then they've got a big target man in Edmondson who can hold the ball up, and they'll try to get runners around him, especially that young winger Dastan Satpayev, who's got serious pace and is apparently Chelsea-bound. But let's be honest, we've dealt with more dangerous attacks in the past. As long as our midfield clicks and we control the tempo, we'll create chances. The key is finishing them. Too often in Europe, we dominate possession, rack up shots, but let teams off the hook. We can't afford to be wasteful this time. And let's not ignore the defensive questions. We still have injuries, still have gaps in the squad. Left back is a concern. Depth out wide is a concern. But at home, with the crowd behind us, we should have more than enough to get the job done. What we need is hunger, urgency, a bit of nastiness. Because this isn't just about getting through the tie. This is about setting the tone for the season. There's a certain pressure that comes with these qualifiers. Not just from the fans, not just from the media, but from the club's own history. Nights at Celtic Park in Europe are sacred. They're where legends are made, where noise becomes a weapon, and where the expectation is never just to compete, it's to dominate. And that's the standard the players have to live up to. Brendan Rodgers knows that better than anyone. He's been here before. He's seen what can happen when we don't take care of business early. That night against Cluj still lingers for a lot of supporters. A night where we thought we were safe, thought we were through, and then the roof caved in. And make no mistake, Kairat might not be Cluj, but the danger is the same if we don't treat this fixture with the respect it demands. It's about mentality. It's about turning up from the first whistle and playing with the swagger and intensity that we're capable of. Because if we do that, if we impose ourselves properly, the quality we've got, even with the injuries and gaps in the squad, should shine through. But if we come out flat, passive, waiting for something to happen, rather than making it happen, then that's when the door opens for doubt to creep in. That's when teams like Kairat start believing they can get something. We can't let them grow into the game. We've got to suffocate them from the start. And that's where the midfield becomes absolutely crucial. Callum McGregor will be the heartbeat, as always. But it's going to be about who surrounds him. Rayo Hatade coming back into the starting 11 would be massive. His ability to move between the lines, to break pressure, to play that killer pass, it changes everything. And then you've got Paulo Bernardo or Odin Thiago Holm potentially filling that third spot. It's a big shout for the manager. Go with experience, go with energy. Either way, the balance has to be right, because this Kairat midfield, while not elite, is aggressive. They press high when they can. They're not afraid to put in a challenge, and they've got players who can run. And look, it has to be said again, We need to make Celtic Park feel like hell for them. If we come flying out the blocks, win every second ball, press with aggression, and make every touch difficult for them, they'll crumble. They're not used to this. This is a team that plays week in, week out in a very different environment. Smaller crowds, slower tempo, less scrutiny. This is a different world for them. We have to make sure they feel that difference every minute they're on the pitch. And that's not just on the players. That's on the fans too. Tomorrow night has to be loud. From the warm-up to the final whistle, the place has to be bouncing. Every tackle, every press, every near chance, roar it, make them feel like they're drowning. Because when Celtic Park is alive like that, it gives our team something extra. It adds fear to our opponents. And you better believe that can make the difference in tight European matches like this one. Now, let's talk about the backline for a moment. That's an area that still feels unsettled. Cameron Carter-Vickers is a guaranteed starter. That much is clear. He's the leader, the one who keeps everything calm when it's flying around. But who partners him? Liam Scales has done a job, and to be fair, he's been consistent. But is he the guy you trust to go deep into Europe with? Maybe not. And what about Mike Nawrocki? Is he fit? Is he ready? Then there's Gustav Lagerbielke, still finding his feet. The truth is we've got center backs, but no settled pairing. And in games like this, where one moment can swing the tie, that cohesion matters. At full back, there's another dilemma. Right side is fine, Shallister. Johnston is back and looking solid. But on the left, Greg Taylor just doesn't inspire the same confidence right now. Whether it's fitness, form, or something else, he's not at the level he was a season ago. And with no real alternative, unless Brendan throws someone like Bernabé and Cold, it's a worry. Kairat have pace in wide areas. They've got trickery. They'll look to isolate our fullbacks and exploit the space behind. We can't give them that luxury. Defensive concentration and shape will be key. And whoever plays at left back needs to be sharp from minute one. In goal, there's less debate. Kasper Schmeichel has brought a calmness and authority that we've badly needed in recent years. A vocal presence, a winning mentality, and a guy who's been there, done it, and seen it all. He knows the importance of these games. He won't be phased. But even with him between the sticks, we can't take liberties. We've got to protect him. And that starts from the front, which brings us to the attack. The area that still feels underpowered in terms of depth and variety. We know Maeda will start. His work rate and his pressing, the sheer havoc he causes, it's invaluable, especially in Europe. But who plays alongside him? Up top, it'll most likely be Kyogo if he's fit. But if not, does Brendan turn to a Dom? And out wide, does James Forrest get the nod again? The veteran's been dependable, but is that enough when we're trying to blow a team away? There's also Yang, electric in flashes but still raw. Does he start, or do we stick with what we know and trust the experience? It's a difficult call, but what's not difficult is seeing what's missing. Pace, dynamism, unpredictability. That's what makes the Vardy talk so compelling, even if it feels like a last-minute scramble. The idea of a player who can stretch the game, who can sniff out a goal from nothing, that's what this Celtic side needs. Whether that ends up being Jamie Vardy or someone else. The fact that we're in mid-August and still talking about our main striker target is frankly embarrassing. The club had the time, the club had the money, and yet here we are. And let's not sugarcoat it. Fans are growing restless. Not just because of the Vardy rumors, but because of the pattern. Every window, it feels like we're waiting until the last moment, hoping to stumble on a bargain or a panic buy that turns out all right. That's not a strategy, that's a gamble. And when you're in the Champions League qualifiers where every minute counts, that gamble can cost you everything. You need to be ready before the first ball is kicked, not scrambling around after the draw has been made. And yet here we are. Still unsure about who's leading the line. Still unsure about whether we've got enough cover in defense. Still hoping the board might actually act with urgency. It's frustrating. It's maddening. But it's also the reality. And for now, Brendan Rodgers and the players have to deal with it because the fans will show up. The stadium will be packed. The energy will be there. What matters now is that the team matches it. And they can. Let's be clear. Despite all the noise or the flaws in the squad or all the doubts, Celtic are still a better football team than Kairat. That's not arrogance. That's just the truth. Technically, tactically, and physically, we've got more quality across the pitch. But quality means nothing if it doesn't come with hunger. These qualifiers aren't about who has the bigger name, they're about who wants it more. Who's willing to run more, fight harder, suffer for every inch of space? We've seen Celtic sides in the past turn up flat, thinking the badge would carry them through. It won't. Not in Europe. Never has. Never will. So it's time to earn. Every player who steps on that pitch has to treat it like a final. No second chances. No room for laziness. Press hard. Play fast. Take your chances, because one goal tomorrow isn't enough. Two might not be either. We need to be ruthless. We need to kill the tie. That means getting to 3, maybe 4, and then managing the game. Use the bench smartly. Keep the tempo high. Don't give them a sniff. Because if we go over there with a slender lead, you just know the nerves will kick in. We've all seen what happens in these away legs. Long travel, unfamiliar stadiums, bizarre officiating. All of it conspires to make life difficult. So take control here. End it before it becomes a problem. And then let the fans dream again. Because that's what this is about. Dreaming of those big nights, those famous wins, those moments that live forever. But it starts with taking care of business in games like this. And don't underestimate the symbolism of this match. It's not just a step towards the Champions League. It's a test of where we are as a club. Are we moving forward with ambition, or are we still just doing enough to get by? A convincing win here doesn't answer all the questions, but it buys time. It builds belief. It sets the tone. So let's make it count. Let's show them what it means to come to Celtic Park. Let's remind everyone that this club doesn't fear European football. It lives for it. One game, 90 minutes, no excuses. Go out there and get it done. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. The whispers around Celtic Park have taken on a louder tone in recent days, with speculation swirling about Brendan Rodgers and his increasingly strained relationship with striker Kyogo Furuhashi. What initially seemed like a passing difference of opinion has grown into a story dominating conversations in pubs, training grounds, and terraces, with many supporters unsettled by reports that Rodgers no longer wishes to count on the Japanese forward. Furuhashi, once heralded as the spark who brought flair and decisive goals to Celtic's front line, is now being spoken of as an outsider in the dressing room, with murmurs suggesting a heavy atmosphere lingers whenever his name is mentioned. Sources close to the club hint that Rodgers feels the player's style no longer aligns with the tactical adjustments he is determined to impose, while others believe this might be a clash of personalities rather than footballing philosophy. The narrative gains traction because Furuhashi's bond with the fans has been undeniable, and any suggestion that he is being pushed out threatens to stir discontent among those who chant his name week in and week out. Observers point out that the dynamic between Rodgers and Furuhashi appeared to change subtly but noticeably after a string of games where the striker found himself benched despite being fit and eager. The explanations given at press conferences seemed vague, speaking of rotation and tactical considerations, yet the unease could be felt in the stands as supporters questioned why a proven goal scorer was left watching from the sidelines. Training. Ground chatter leaked into the public sphere with claims that Rodgers had grown frustrated with Furuhashi's reluctance to adapt to certain pressing demands or defensive duties that the manager considers essential. Those who have watched Rodgers over the years know he prizes structure and discipline. And while Furuhashi offers undeniable flair, his instincts lean towards improvisation and freedom in attack. This clash of approaches may appear subtle to the casual eye, yet within the microcosm of elite football, even slight divergences can create significant rifts. The unease in the squad reportedly thickened, with some teammates caught between loyalty to their manager and admiration for the striker's infectious energy and work rate. Adding to the speculation is the sense that Rodgers may be laying the groundwork for a more sweeping overhaul of the squad. One that would see established fan favorites sacrificed in the name of building a team fully in his image. Furuhashi, in this narrative, becomes the symbol of transition, a player whose popularity does not shield him from the cold pragmatism of modern football decisions. Rumors suggest that Celtic are already discreetly gauging interest from clubs. In Europe, and even back in Japan, with scouts and intermediaries said to be inquiring about his availability. Yet the whispers carry a note of caution. Letting go of such a talisman could backfire not only on the pitch, but also in the stands, where supporters may view the move as unnecessary upheaval. For a manager like Rodgers, who was returned to Celtic, with a point to prove after his earlier departure left scars, the stakes are high. If the decision to sideline or offload Furuhashi proves unpopular and results falter, the criticism will be fierce and unforgiving. For now, however, the story exists in the realm of rumor and hushed conversations, adding tension to every matchday. Meanwhile, Furuhashi himself has remained outwardly professional, rarely speaking out of turn, yet his body language tells its own story. Observers at Lennoxtown training sessions describe him as diligent but distant, still participating fully but perhaps lacking the usual sparkle that made him such a joy to watch. His trademark smile, often seen as much a weapon as his pace and finishing, has been rarer of late, and the contrast has not gone unnoticed by supporters who pride themselves on reading the emotional pulse of their heroes. Some argue that Rodgers' approach could be a deliberate psychological tactic, a way of testing the player's resilience and adaptability under pressure. Others feel it is simply a breakdown of trust, a relationship that has passed the point of no return. If true, it marks a striking turn of events for a footballer who was once the embodiment of Celtic's attacking verve. The fans, as ever, remain divided. Some back the manager's authority and vision, while others rally behind the player, seeing in him the spirit of creativity that should not be stifled. All of this leaves Celtic at a delicate crossroads, with results on the pitch intertwining with the rumblings of it. Every missed chance or lost ball from Furuhashi is now magnified, dissected, and debated as evidence of either Rodgers' correctness or his folly. Each tactical change, substitution, or post-match comment is parsed for hidden meanings, as though supporters and pundits alike are reading tea leaves in search of clarity. In the stands, the noise is constant, though its tone shifts depending on the ebb and flow of a match. A goal from Furuhashi ignites chants of loyalty, while his absence provokes muttered questions about what is really happening behind the scenes. Such is the nature of Glasgow football, where rumors rarely remain rumors for long, and where personalities can be as decisive as tactics. Whether this storm will pass quietly or erupt into a defining saga of Rodgers' second tenure remains to be seen. For now, the whispers continue, and with each passing week, the weight of expectation, speculation, and suspicion grows heavier over Celtic Park. Hello, fan! Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.